So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's newspaper in a very short span of time within 20 minutes. Now today we are going to be covering the newspaper of or the current affairs of August 27, 2024. And the important topics that featured in August 27th's newspaper are as following. Okay, so these are the topics that we are going to focus our attention on. And you, as civil services aspirants, should focus your attention on these 5 topics alone, because these were the only 5 topics that were important from the perspective of civil services in August 27th's newspaper. All right. Okay. So the first topic was Unified Lending Interface. Recently, RBI Governor Shaktikant Das ji made an announcement that, like UPI, Unified Payment Interface, they are going to launch something like Unified Lending Interface, which would actually facilitate the seamless delivery of credit or seamless loan delivery. Now, getting a loan would become easier. Like now, making payments has become easier due to UPI. Okay. So we'll cover this. Then recently, a child in Meghalaya is suffering from polio. Okay. Now, polio was eradicated from India in 2011 and India was declared polio-free in 2014. After that, this case in Meghalaya is a sign of worry. But the thing is that this polio is vaccine-derived polio. So what is vaccine-derived polio? We'll talk about this. Then we'll shift our attention to 2 new defense agreements between India and USA and India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable. Okay, so we'll focus on these IR, international relations, current affairs. Then in the end, we'll talk about Hollongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary. This is in Assam. And what are gibbons? What is their IUCN status? We'll talk about this because environment-related questions are also asked in UPSC Civil Services examination. All right. So we'll focus our attention on these 5 topics alone. So without further ado, without much delay, let's start with topic number 1, which is Unified Lending Interface. So RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said that a nationwide launch of Unified Lending Interface will happen in due course. It will be similar to UPI. Like UPI revolutionized payments in our country. It facilitated easy payments in our country like Google Pay, Bharat Pay and all. ULI would facilitate easy getting of loans. Okay. This ULI along with UPI and along with Jandhan Aadhaar Mobile, JAM, will be the new trinity. These 3 things would be revolution of a sort. Okay. And remember, UPI is a form of digital public infrastructure and ULI would also be a form of digital public infrastructure. So this would be the new trinity, JAM, UPI, ULI, which will be a revolutionary step. Right? Now, what is ULI? As far as definition is concerned, it is a public tech platform, much like UPI, for frictionless credit, with the aim of bringing about efficiency in the lending process in terms of reduction of cost, quicker disbursement, like quicker giving of loans, and scalability. Now, how will ULI work? Look, when you ask for a loan from bank, okay, banks do give you loan, no problem with that. But before giving you loan, before the money is credited in your bank account, banks actually go for credit appraisal. Now, what is credit appraisal? They want to check your information. They want to check whether you deserve that loan or not. They want to see your income tax returns. They want to see your credit score. They want to see your bank account. Now, this process takes time. Okay. And that is why many a times loans get delayed, because credit appraisal or loan appraisal is a time-consuming process. Okay. And why is it a time-consuming process? Because banks, while giving loans, has to get your data from different areas. For your income tax return, they have to get the data from Government of India. For your credit score, they have to get the data from CIBIL. Okay. For your other information, they have to contact other organizations. So banks have to contact multiple organizations to get that information about you. And then only they decide whether they should give that loan to you or not. Now, what ULI will do is, all this data, which is with government, credit information companies, banks, different entities, will be combined at this platform. What banks have to do is, banks just have to contact this, and all the information with different departments would come to bank within a second. And banks would quickly, within seconds, give you that loan. Okay? All right? And you can apply for that loan online also, because banks don't need to get your signatures now. Banks don't need to contact you. Banks can simply gather your information from this public platform. Okay, so ULI platform will facilitate a seamless and consent-based flow of digital information between government, credit information, banks, all that stuff. And this will cut down time for credit appraisal. Okay, ULI architecture will be designed for plug and play approach. So for example, Google uses UPI, Paytm used UPI, BharatPay used UPI, right? Similarly, ULI would have plug and play approach. It would be very easy for banks to install ULI in their mobile apps. All right, this is the situation. Now, we talked about UPI also. Okay, while discussing ULI, we mentioned UPI. We gave a cursory reference to UPI. So let's gather a few information or few important points regarding UPI also. So UPI was launched in April 2016. It was made by National Payment Corporation of India, and it is a single platform that integrates multiple bank accounts and link those bank accounts to your mobile number or your UPI ID. So your single UPI ID can have multiple bank accounts or mobile number can have multiple bank accounts, and the single mobile application can be used to pay from one account to another. Okay, so this has made retail payments quite easy. Google Pay is very easy now. Paytm is very easy now, right? This is because of UPI, which was created by National Payment Corporation. Okay, yeah. So that's about it as far as the first topic is concerned. Now let's jump to second topic, which is vaccine-derived polio. So, a 2-year child from Meghalaya's West Garo Hills district reportedly tested positive for polio. Union Health Ministry said that the case was vaccine derived and doesn't jeopardize India's polio free status. India was declared polio free in 2014, and this case in Meghalaya won't jeopardize India's polio free status. Okay? Now, the question is, what is polio? So, in medical terminology, polio is known as poliomyelitis. Remember this. Okay? It is an infectious viral disease that affects the nervous system. Okay? And its symptoms are that it paralyzes your body, sometimes your lower body. Okay? Your legs don't work. And it generally affects children under the age of 5. Okay? Mode of spread is virus is transmitted by person to person, mainly through fecal oral route. So, contaminated hands, someone didn't wash their hands after defecating, and they touched a food item or a drink item, and you took that food item, then that polio virus would travel to you. Okay. Now, it generally affects children. Okay. So, to protect children from polio, vaccines were made. Okay. There are two types of polio vaccines. One is called OPV, oral polio vaccine. These are the oral polio drops that were given to children. And the other is IPV, injectable polio vaccine or inactivated polio vaccine. Okay. So, what is the case? How do these vaccines work? So, in OPV, what happens is a very weak version of polio virus is inserted in this vaccine, and this vaccine is inserted into you. So, very weak version of polio virus is inserted into the child. Because it is weak, it does not affect the child. Okay, it does not affect the child, but the child develops immunity against the virus. So, next time when the actual virus comes to that body, their immune system is already prepared. Okay, so under OPV, a weak virus is inserted into a child's body. In case of IPV vaccine, well, inactivated virus, dead virus is inserted. Okay, so in OPV, the virus is alive, but it is very weak. In IPV, virus is dead. Okay, both these types of vaccines have their advantages and disadvantages. All right, now the thing is, what is vaccine-derived virus? Look, if a child is given OPV and his immune system is already quite weak, okay, then this weakened virus can also affect that child because his immune system is weak. Plus, sometimes the immune system is not able to fight off the virus completely, this weak virus that was inserted through a vaccine. Okay, and this virus remains in the body of the child for quite some time, and it multiplies, and then it becomes strong and it spreads around. Okay, the virus in the vaccine can also cause chronic infection in children with weak immune systems, replicating in their stomach, gut for years, and slowly gaining its ability to cause severe infection. And this virus becomes the vaccine-derived virus, which affected the boy in Meghalaya, 2-year-old child in Meghalaya. Okay, so this is vaccine-derived virus. Now, how has polio performed in India? So, India and polio. So, look, India last reported a case of wild polio virus, not vaccine derived, wild polio virus in 2011 in Howrah district of West Bengal. That was the last case. Now, WHO guidelines say that after your last case, you have to wait for 3 years. And in those 3 years, no infection should occur. So, last case for India was 2011, and after 3 years, in 2014, India was declared polio free. However, since 2004 till 2014 to 2024, vaccine derived polio cases have been reported. But vaccine derived polio cases don't jeopardize your status as polio free. So if India has vaccine derived polio, then WHO won't categorize India as non polio free. India would still be polio free. Okay, that's the case. Remember this fact. Okay, let's jump to our third news item, which is two new agreements between India and USA. These are defense agreements. So during Defense Minister Rajnath Singh's 4-day official visit that concluded on Sunday, the partner nations signed two agreements. One was Security of Supply Arrangement, SOSA, and the other was MOU regarding assignment of liaison officer. Now, India and USA has many defense agreements, many. Okay, these two are just two additions to that big list. Okay, now first let's discuss what is this MOU on liaison officers. So this will allow increased information sharing between India and USA and to post Indian armed officers in key strategic USA commands. So like Indian Army has Northern Command, Western Command, right? Similarly, USA has various commands. Now an Indian officer shall be posted with a American Army command, and an American Army officer shall be posted with an Indian Army command. Okay, this would allow exchange of information, defense information between the two countries. So this is the MOU on liaison officer. So the Indian officer along with USA commands would be called Indian liaison officer, and the same goes for the American liaison officer. Okay, the other more significant agreement is SOSA. Okay, so what is SOSA? It will enable both countries to acquire the industrial resources they need from one another to resolve unanticipated supply chain disruptions to meet national security needs. Now, what does that mean? Let's suppose India manufactures tanks. Indian Army needs tanks. But these tanks also have microelectronic chips inserted into them. Okay? Now, let's suppose India does not have microchips anymore. India has many tanks, but India can't fit microchips in these tanks because India does not have microchips anymore. So this agreement, this SOSA, will allow India to import microchips from USA so that it can insert that in its tanks. Now this is just one example. Let's suppose India is short of iron and steel. So India will import iron and steel from USA to fit it in its tanks. Now this is known as SOSA. Similarly, USA can also do that. Now, India is, remember this fact, this is important. India is the 18th SOSA partner of USA. Okay? And this agreement is non-binding. USA can refuse India and India can refuse USA. But a general understanding is there. Alright? That's about it. Okay? You no need to know more about this news item. Okay? Now, fourth is India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable. Senior ministers from India and Singapore held a productive round of discussions at the second multi-ministerial roundtable in Singapore. Okay? Now, why is it multi-ministerial? Because it has 4 ministers from India and 4 ministers from Singapore. Okay, the 4 ministers from India were Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal ji, and Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, and their counterparts from Singapore. So 4 ministers from Singapore. Now, what was decided in this roundtable? The two strategic partners. Now remember, India and Singapore are strategic partners. Okay, they said that we need to cooperate more on these 6 pillars. Now, what are these 6 pillars? Digitization, skill development, sustainability, healthcare, connectivity, and advanced manufacturing. All right. Now, some more facts about this agreement. Okay, the leaders discussed plans for commemorating the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between India and Singapore. So, diplomatic relationships between India and Singapore were established in 1965. So in 2025, it is going to be 60 years. So they are going to commemorate that next year. The meeting reviewed the progress from the first ISMR. So the first ISMR was held in 2022 in New Delhi, and the second was held in Singapore in 2024. Now, ISMR is being held here ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's likely visit to city-state next month. All right. And let's straight away jump to our last news item, which is Hollongapar. It is a place in Assam, Hollongapar. Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, why was this in news? Citing national interest, the Assam Wildlife Department has recommended to the centre that forest clearance to be granted to Kane oil and gas proposal for oil and gas exploration. So there is this company called Kane International. It wants to explore oil and gas in Hollongapar, but Hollongapar has a wildlife sanctuary which contains an eco-sensitive zone, which requires environmental clearance. Now, this is the controversy whether Kane International should get that environmental clearance or not. Now, this wildlife sanctuary is famous for Hollog gibbon. Now, what are Hollog gibbons? Okay, gibbons, known as the smallest and the fastest of all apes, are a highly intelligent species that inhabit tropical and subtropical forests in Asia. Now, these gibbons are found in Northeast India, like Assam, Bangladesh, Myanmar, southern China. Now, these gibbons have two species: Eastern Hollog gibbon, Western Hollog gibbon. Both are found in India. Eastern Hollog gibbon is vulnerable, Western Hollog gibbon is endangered. All right, that's it. And with that, we finish today's lecture. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it added value to your preparation, though it would add more value if you are consistent and regular with this lecture series. So, on that note, on the hope that you are going to be consistent and regular, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.